We all have these ideas in our heads that feel absolutely 100% true, but aren't, not even close. So today, we're going to dig into the psychology of why these myths are just so darn sticky.
Okay, here's a classic one. I bet you've heard it a million times. It's the whole idea behind awesome movies like Lucy and Limitless, right? That we've got all this incredible untapped potential just locked away in our heads.
Yeah, about that. The science is really clear on this. It's a total myth. Modern brain scans, the ones that light up when we think, show that we use practically every single part of our brain, pretty much all the time, even when we're asleep. There aren't any big dormant areas just waiting to be switched on.
Okay, so that's the big question, right? If it's so obviously not true and so easy to disprove, why does it hang around so stubbornly in our culture? The answer actually tells us a ton about how our minds are wired.
Well, it turns out our brains are, kind of lazy. In a good way. They're built for efficiency. They love taking mental shortcuts to get through the day, but those very same shortcuts can leave us wide open to believing things that just aren't true.
There's actually a name for this. It's called the illusory truth effect. Basically, when we hear something over and over and over again, our brain starts to mistake that feeling of familiarity for a feeling of accuracy. The more you hear it, the more it just sounds true.
So these myths stick around because they're simple, they get wrapped up in great stories, and they just feel right. Honestly, they're just way easier to swallow than some complicated, messy reality. But hold on, it's not just about hearing things over and over. Sometimes we cling to these ideas for a much more personal reason.
Now you might be thinking, okay, this is for people who just don't know the facts. But here's where things get really wild. Being smarter doesn't necessarily save you from this.
See, for a long time, the common wisdom was just give people the facts. They'll see the light. But psychologists are finding that our brains don't really work like that. They're not just empty hard drives waiting for us to upload data.
Check this out. A fascinating study in 2013 by a researcher named Dan Kahan found something that seems totally backward. He discovered that people with the strongest analytical skills were often the best at twisting facts to fit what they already believed. They used their intelligence not to find the truth, but to build a better fortress around their existing beliefs. Think of a die-hard sports fan who can give you 1,000 reasons why the ref's call was terrible. They're using all that brain power to defend their team, not to be objective.
So why would we do that? Well, because our beliefs aren't just about facts. A lot of the time, they're about our identity. They're like a jersey we wear to show which team we're on. So when someone challenges one of our core beliefs, it doesn't just feel like a debate about facts, it can feel like a personal attack on us and our entire community. And for our brains, fitting in with our tribe is often way more important than being perfectly factually correct.
Okay, so if just throwing more facts at people doesn't work, what's the solution? How do we get around this tricky part of our own psychology?
The real takeaway, the thing to remember is this. It's not just about what people think that matters. It's about how they think. The real challenge isn't just correcting one piece of wrong information. It's about getting better at noticing our own mental gymnastics. It's about learning to step back and ask ourselves, hey, am I really trying to figure this out, or am I just defending my team?
And that kind of brings us back to you. Knowing all this, knowing how our brains are wired, what's one belief you hold that might be worth taking a second, really honest look at?